Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will never retire early because they're following the wrong financial advice. While financial gurus preach complex investment strategies and high-risk ventures, the real secret to financial freedom has been hiding in plain sight for generations. And this is the part most people miss. It's not about making more money. It's about mastering the art of strategic spending. A few weeks ago, I sat across from my grandfather at his kitchen table, watching him flip through a worn notebook filled with decades of financial tracking. What he revealed next completely shattered everything I thought I knew about building wealth on an average income. You want to know how I built enough wealth to retire comfortably on a telephone technician's salary? He asked, tapping his pen against numbers that told a remarkable story. I didn't chase get-rich-quick schemes or put money into risky investments. I just stopped making the same expensive mistakes everyone else makes. For over 30 years, my grandfather worked a standard union job with the phone company. Nothing glamorous, no six-figure salary, no inheritance or lucky breaks. Just him, my grandmother working part-time as a healthcare aide, 2 children to raise, and a mortgage that seemed overwhelming in those early days. Yet somehow, they managed to build substantial wealth using 9 deceptively simple strategies that most people completely overlook. But here's where it gets controversial. These habits directly contradict much of the mainstream financial advice you'll find online today. Let me walk you through his unconventional approach and explain why it works so much better than what the so-called experts recommend. Strategy 1. Make saving completely automatic. My grandfather's first rule sounds almost too simple. Money that disappears before you see it never gets spent on nonsense. Instead of relying on willpower to save money at the end of each month, he set up automatic transfers that moved a fixed percentage straight into savings and retirement accounts the moment his paycheck arrived. This happened before any bills got paid, before any spending decisions were made, and definitely before any impulse purchases could tempt him. The psychology behind this approach is fascinating. Behavioral researchers have discovered that people adapt remarkably quickly to their available spending money, but they struggle terribly with voluntary saving decisions. When you automate the process, you remove the emotional decision-making that destroys most people's financial progress. His recommendation was straightforward. Start with any percentage you can manage without panic, even if it's just 5%. Then increase that percentage every single time you receive a raise, bonus, or promotion. This way, your future self benefits from every career advancement, while your current lifestyle stays steady and sustainable. Strategy 2. Refuse to let housing costs control your life. Here's where his advice gets really controversial in today's market. Your home should shelter your family, not impress strangers who don't pay your bills. While everyone around them was stretching their budgets to buy the biggest house possible, my grandparents took a completely different approach. They started by renting a modest duplex near public transportation, which kept their housing costs low while they built their savings foundation. When they eventually purchased a home, they chose a smaller property with a large yard and immediately converted the basement into a legal rental unit for graduate students. That single decision eliminated most of their mortgage payment for several years, allowing them to pay off their home decades ahead of schedule. The harsh reality is that housing costs destroy more financial dreams than any other single expense category. When you commit to spending 30 to 40% of your income on housing, you're essentially giving up your chance at early financial independence. But here's what most people don't realize. Living in a slightly smaller space in a slightly less trendy neighborhood can free up thousands of dollars every year for wealth building. Strategy 3. Drive your vehicles until they literally cannot continue. This strategy directly challenges one of America's most expensive cultural habits, constantly upgrading vehicles. My grandfather's vehicle philosophy was brutally practical. Buy reliable used cars with cash whenever possible, maintain them religiously, and drive them until major repairs cost more than the vehicle's remaining value. No monthly lease payments. No rolling negative equity from one loan to the next. No upgrades just because newer models had shinier features or better technology. His approach was methodical. He researched the most dependable used models, bought them from private sellers to avoid dealership markup, and kept detailed maintenance records in a small notebook stored in each vehicle's glove compartment. He set aside $25 monthly in a car repair envelope to handle unexpected maintenance costs without disrupting their budget. The financial impact of this strategy is staggering. The average American spends over $500 monthly on vehicle payments alone. By eliminating car payments and driving reliable used vehicles, my grandparents freed up $6,000 annually that went straight into their investment accounts instead. Strategy 4. Transform your kitchen into a wealth-building machine. This is where his financial strategy intersected perfectly with practical life skills. The moment my grandparents learned to batch cook efficiently, their monthly spending patterns changed dramatically. Every Sunday became meal preparation day. They shopped with carefully planned lists, cooked 3 large batch meals that could be portioned and stored, and packed work lunches using an assembly line system that rivaled any restaurant kitchen. Leftovers weren't considered a consolation prize. They were the strategic foundation of their meal planning system. The financial impact extended far beyond just saving money on restaurant meals. When you have delicious, ready-to-eat meals waiting at home, you completely eliminate those expensive emergency food delivery orders that can easily cost $30 to $50 and demolish your monthly budget goals. Plus, cooking at home provides better nutrition, which reduces healthcare costs over time and gives you more energy for productive activities. It's a compound benefit that keeps paying dividends year after year. Strategy 5. Monitor your money like a business owner. Every Friday afternoon, my grandfather spent exactly 10 minutes reviewing their financial situation. Not hours of complex analysis, just a quick check of account balances, upcoming bills, unusual expenses, and the following week's cash requirements. He wasn't a spreadsheet enthusiast or technology expert. A simple yellow legal pad served as his tracking system, and it worked perfectly for decades. Today, the same principle applies using whatever tools feel comfortable. The key is consistency, not complexity. When you examine your spending patterns weekly, you catch problems while they're still small and manageable, instead of discovering financial disasters at the end of the month. This regular financial check-in creates awareness that influences your daily spending decisions. When you know exactly how much money flows through different categories, you naturally make better choices throughout the week. Strategy 6. Make every raise invisible to your lifestyle. Here's where my grandfather's advice becomes truly radical in our consumption-driven culture. Every time his salary increased, even tiny cost of living adjustments, he immediately raised his retirement contributions by the same amount or more. Some years, he never saw a single dollar of his raise hit their checking account, but his future financial security grew substantially. This strategy directly combats what psychologists call lifestyle inflation, the tendency to increase spending whenever income rises. Most people unconsciously adjust their lifestyle upward with every raise, which means they never actually improve their financial position despite earning more money. By redirecting raises into savings and investments before lifestyle expectations can adjust, you maintain your current standard of living while dramatically accelerating your path to financial independence. Strategy 7. Buy superior quality once instead of cheap replacements repeatedly. My grandfather drew a sharp distinction between being cheap and being frugal. And this difference shaped every significant purchase decision. Cheap thinking buys a $30 cooking pan 3 different times when it keeps warping and losing its nonstick coating. Frugal thinking invests in one high-quality cast iron pan, learns to season and maintain it properly, and uses it for decades while eventually passing it to the next generation. He implemented a 30-day consideration period for any purchase above a certain dollar threshold. Write down what you want to buy, walk away from the decision, and revisit it 30 days later. If you still want the item after a full month, research the highest quality version you can reasonably afford. Buy it once and take excellent care of it. This approach transforms purchases from recurring expenses into long-term assets. When you buy quality items and maintain them well, you eliminate the need for frequent replacements while enjoying better performance throughout the product's extended lifespan. Strategy 8. Negotiate every recurring bill annually. Once each year, my grandfather conducted what he called his bill optimization drill. He systematically contacted every service provider, phone companies, internet providers, insurance companies, gym memberships, subscription services, and politely inquired about loyalty discounts, updated plans, or auto-pay savings. He kept detailed notes about which representatives he spoke with, what offers were available, and when promotional rates would expire. This simple annual routine typically reduced their monthly expenses by $50 to $100 without changing their lifestyle in any way. He also negotiated one-time expenses like medical bills, dental procedures, and appliance repairs by requesting itemized billing and offering immediate payment in exchange for discounts. The fundamental principle is straightforward. If a human being set a price, another human being can often adjust it. Most companies have flexibility built into their pricing structures, but they rarely volunteer their best rates unless customers specifically ask. Strategy 9. Create multiple small income streams that feel natural. Finally, my grandfather developed what he called profitable hobbies, small ways to generate additional income without sacrificing family time or burning himself out with a second job. He offered weekend repair services to neighbors, sharpened lawnmower blades for cash, and helped a local property owner with minor maintenance tasks in exchange for a monthly stipend. Later, he took evening accounting classes at the community college and began preparing tax returns for friends and acquaintances during tax season. None of these activities were particularly glamorous or high-paying, but they created steady supplemental income that he immediately funneled into index fund investments and home improvements that increased their property's rental value. He emphasized that the goal wasn't getting rich quickly through side hustles. Instead, these small income streams created financial margin, which created more options, which eventually created genuine freedom to make life decisions based on preferences rather than financial necessity. The uncomfortable truth about frugal living. Here's what makes this approach so controversial. It requires accepting that financial freedom comes from optimizing what you spend, not just maximizing what you earn. Our culture constantly promotes the idea that the solution to money problems is always earning more money. But my grandfather's experience proves that strategic spending habits can build substantial wealth on entirely ordinary incomes. Frugal living isn't about depriving yourselves of enjoyment or living in constant fear of spending money. It's about designing systems that automatically guide your money toward your most important long-term goals, instead of letting it drain away on forgettable purchases that don't improve your life. When you build routines that prevent financial leakage, early retirement stops being a fantasy reserved for high earners and becomes an achievable plan for anyone willing to think differently about money. The real question is, Are you ready to challenge everything you've been taught about building wealth? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this approach. Which of these 9 strategies feels most challenging to implement in your current situation? Do you think frugal habits are more important than income growth for building long-term wealth? Or am I missing something important about modern financial realities? Share your perspective in the comments below, especially if you disagree with this grandfather's unconventional wisdom.